my name's Lucas Haddock and I'm here with Mark, who's been our trainer for the week on this tracked dumper. So me and Mark are going to go through some pre-start checks for anyone who was wondering. So what would we usually check for on the tracks?
Well, on the pre-start checks, you just start at one location, just work your way around, identifying things to see if there's any possible faults. So on the tracks, we're looking at the grip, make sure that the tracks are quite sturdy and meaty with the tread on it still. We're looking at the sprocket, making sure that there's no oil leaking from the sprocket area, that the teeth are all in place and there's no wear and tear. We've then got idlers along the bottom, rollers, a roller up on the top. So we're just making sure that there's nothing untoward with it. Yeah. As we're coming around the side here, we've got the idler. So that'll just carry the track round, driven by the sprocket at the front or at the rear, depending on which way you're coming.
So Mark, on our first day on the machine, you were showing us the importance of making sure your machine is greased. Would you like to tell everyone why you should grease your machine?
That's so the parts and the components don't wear. And then when you are using the equipment, it's lubricated quite well and it works freely.
All right, Mark, we also have here the safety strut. What is the safety strut used for again?
Okay, so if you've got to carry out any maintenance or inspections under the skip that involves you going underneath, the locking pin comes out, that comes down, the skip's up in the air, that hole lines up, that will go through, and then that will prevent it coming down on top of you when you are under the skip carrying out any detailed work.
So Mark, as we move around the machine, we have the tracks again that we've got to check, the idler, we've got to check for any oil leaks, and we also have to check the mirrors. What is the importance of checking your mirrors?
So you can see behind you, make sure that they're clean, adjusted and not broken.
So as we move round, we're going to have many different things we're going to have to check here, including the lights. We need to check underneath the machine for any oil spills. And as we have here, this is the AdBlue, which we always need to check the cap is secure. For anyone who's wondering, Mark, what is AdBlue?
When the exhaust fumes come out the engine, they get a little bit of AdBlue on them. It crystallises, it gets held in the exhaust system, and after a certain period of time it has to do what they call a regen. And then that helps us then. And it's better for the environment to regen at that process than it would be just to let the fumes escape into the environment.
As we move next to it, which I forgot to unlock this part,
okay,
we have here, we have the water and we have the batteries. What is a problem if, say, one of these come loose or the water bursts?
If these come loose, if the battery's not secured, the terminals could come loose, could cause a spark, an explosion, a fire. And this is the expansion tank for your water. Make sure that it's topped up to the right correct level so the engine can keep cool throughout the day and throughout your workings.
All right, thank you, Mark. Now I'm going to have to get up onto the machine, making sure using 3 points of contact, and we're going to have a look in the engine. Mark, what do we usually check for inside the engine? I know we check the oil in the dipper rod.
The oil, make sure there's no components hanging off, everything's all in place. Checking any belts are not missing, any parts aren't leaking or not in place. As you can see, it's quite dry up there. If you want to just pull the oil dipstick out and we could have a little check.
So here we have the dipstick. If you can see, there is 2 lines, one at the top and one at the bottom. You have to make sure you wear gloves whilst checking this. It can stop the cab from being contaminated and you getting dermatitis. So we're going to try and put this back in and we're going to move on to a separate part of the machine. There we are. So here we have the water catcher, which catches any water that's inside the fuel. And also we have, isn't this the air filter?
Yeah, filter, yes.
Which every time we start, we need to give it a smack, give this a squeeze to see if any debris comes out. And if there is a significant amount of debris, we need to take this off and go get it serviced. Here, we also have the grease gun, which you can use to grease up the machine at any separate point that needs greasing. Now we're going to lock this and we're going to go get in the machine. But before that, we need to check the fuel gauge and make sure we've got enough fuel inside the machine to be able to operate it. That can also be checked inside the cab on the screen. So now guys, I'm going to put my seatbelt on and start the machine. First off though, as a security measure, I've got to put the code in. Now for my operational checks, first of all, I need to check a few things in the cab, but if you can see, there's a green light on top that shows my seatbelt is on. So if I'm operating at any point and my seatbelt is off, that green light won't show, which could result in me losing my job. So first of all, we're going to start with the horn. We're going to see if the horn works. The horn's definitely working, guys. And I'm going to spin the seat around and we're going to have an operational check of the skip to make sure when I fill it up, it will actually move. So we're going to lift it up all the way and then we're going to put it down. Spin it a bit side to side, make sure everything's working. Then check on this small screen here that the bucket's centered. Now I'm going to move the machine backwards, but before I move it backwards, I need to make sure there's no one behind me. I'll move the machine backwards and forwards, moving it left and right to make sure the machine works in order. Now I'm off to go and operate the machine. See you guys later. And that is the end of my journey at the Operator Skills Hub. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone at Flannery for the opportunity and the training. I hope to be here again soon, as you're very welcoming, and I recommend anyone comes here to get their training. I hope to be training again with you guys soon, and that's goodbye from me.